overwhelming evidence proves Black Arrow guilty of the murder of Sherman, and the Indian is to be shot. Pancho and Mary, however, make a strange discovery and race to rescue their friend as suddenly...
Sorry, son. I've done the best I can for you.
I know that. Thanks.
Come on, let's get this over with.
Not with them guns. This has got to be strictly legal. It'll be done with guns which I've already got ready. Bring them here, Pete. Now, 2 of these guns are loaded with blanks. The other one contains the lethal charge. That's so neither one of you'll know who actually fired the fatal shot. Ready. Aim. Fire. What's the meaning of this?
You killed an innocent man.
This paper prove it.
Well, now, what'll this paper prove, Pancho?
This is other part of paper which you find at my house.
What?
You have Wade's note, yes?
Sure, I've got it.
Go on over to the office. I'll meet you there.
Here it is, by Chowder. Black Arrow had Sherman ready to confess. I killed Sherman before he could talk. Wade. By thunder, that's proof enough for me. Black Arrow's innocent.
But you've killed him, you murderers. But what's all the meaning of this, Marshal?
Oh, me and Whitney, we didn't think the trial was conducted according to law, so I had to do some mighty fast thinking to delay the execution. But I guess my scheme worked out all right, huh?
It sure did, Marshal.
But I had a mighty hard time taking that slug out of the cartridge and substituting the pellet filled with red paint.
You're free, Black Arrow. Thanks to Pancho and Mary, you have been cleared of Sherman's murder.
Thanks to them, and thanks to you, too, Mr. Whitney. The guilty man's still free, and I'm sure he's the one who killed my father.
You're right, Black Arrow.
Sometimes I ain't very smart, but sometimes I am smart like anything. And right this minute, I feel like I've got a pretty good idea, I think.
What's that, Pancho?
This guilty hombre had to be at my rancho today, or he could not tear this note in half.
Do you know who was there?
Well, I was, for one. Marshal Hayes and Toby Becker were the other 2.
We certainly couldn't suspect you, Mr. Jackson.
Well, of course not. And we know Marshal Hayes is no murderer.
Then this leaves only Becker, I think.
Where is Becker?
I was here a moment ago. Folks, I don't like to make hasty accusations, but I've suspected Becker right from the first. I think I know a way to prove him guilty.
How?
I'll set a trap for him, Tom, and if he's our man, he'll fall right into it. It'll be that kind of a trap.
Go to it, Jake.
Good luck.
Well, what's the dope, Jake?
Well, things don't look too good for you. Whitney's crowd think you killed Wade and then tried to frame Black Arrow.
Look, Jake, you gotta do something. Suppose they turn me over to Hayes.
You can forget about him. I can run this town with or without him, Marshal. It's Whitney, Black Arrow, and Pancho that are getting a little too hot to handle. They're asking for trouble.
All right. You're running the show. What's on the program?
Do you remember that abandoned squatter's cabin we spotted out on Rimrock Flats?
Sure. What about it?
I want you to get out there. Set off a blasting charge that'll go off the minute Whitney and his pals step into that hut. I know a way to decoy them out there.
Wait a minute. What about Hayes and the others?
Don't worry. I'll see they won't bother us. Go on.
And we represent the decent citizens of this town, Marshal. If you can't round up the guilty man, we're taking matters into our own hands.
Now, listen, boys. Resorting to violence won't help any. And I'm doing all my power to bring the guilty man to justice.
Maybe I can help you there, Marshal. Becker was just spotted hightailing it out of town. He was headed for Adobe Hills.
How does that prove him guilty?
An innocent man doesn't exactly sneak out of town leading a pack horse that was loaded with his personal belongings.
Maybe Jake's right. Let's go after Becker and question him. Come on, boys.
What you tell us is vitally important. Are you sure of this, Jackson?
There's no doubt of it, Whitney. Becker skipped town. He's headed for a deserted shack on Rimrock Flats.
Rimrock Flats? Why, that's near the Texas border.
Exactly, and if he crosses the line, we've lost the man responsible for all these crimes.
That is very bad, amigo. We must ride after him pronto, I think.
Rimrock Flats is wild country.
Not too wild to get through. I've been there. I've seen that very hut. Tom, I can take you right to that spot.
That settles it. There may be trouble. Mary, you better stay behind. We'll report to you at the store.
Any trace of Becker?
Very trace. Critter must have vamoosed.
Guess we just as well head back to town.
All right.
All right, boys. I don't get it, boys. Either Becker saw us coming and is hiding out, or we were sent on a wild goose chase.
That's not likely, Marshal. We might as well admit we lost a scent somewhere.
What's the trouble, Mr. Hayes?
Old Becker got plumb clean away from us. We had a tip from Jackson that he was hiding somewhere in the Adobe Hills.
That's odd. Mr. Jackson seemed positive that Becker was hiding out in a deserted cabin in Rimrock Flats. He's taking Mr. Whitney and Pancho and Black Arrow there now.
Well, it seems he sent one bunch on a wild goose chase. Why should Jackson do that?
I've got it, boys. Jackson must have had two leads and wanted to run them both down to once.
I'm not so sure about that, Marshal.
What do you mean, Miss Mary?
I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out.
There's the place.
That looks like Becker's horse. If he's in that shack, we'll get him. Let's sneak up quietly and surprise him.
Thank goodness I got here in time.
What's wrong, Mary?
Don't go near that hut. I'm convinced Becker planted some kind of trap in there.
Maybe in that case, Becker isn't even in the hut.
That is bad. What we do now?
Becker's horse is there. That means he's here someplace. Let's look for him.
There he is.
It was a trap. That explosion was meant for us.
How did you figure that out, Miss Mary?
A woman's intuition. Marshal Hayes was sent out to Adobe Hills on a false tip-off.
That Becker was one smart coyote, I think.
It wasn't Becker. The marshal said that you gave him that tip, Mr. Jackson.
Yes, that's true, and I'll admit I was completely fooled. Someone told me that Becker was headed for Adobe Hills. Shortly afterward, someone else said he was headed this way. Well, at least we've got one thing to be grateful for. We cornered him. Thanks to your intuition, Miss Mary.
Thanks, Mr. Jackson. But after all, it was you who really put an end to all our troubles.
Well, we'd better get back to town, folks. There might be other plants out here. Come on.
Becker's trap work?
Fine, except that he got caught in it himself.
You mean the Black Arrow and all the others escaped?
Yeah, by a miracle, the Brent girl got there just in time to save them. I had to shoot Becker, then think of a smart alibi to save our necks.
Well, one way's as good as another, so long as we're in the clear.
Yes, but we're not. I've got a hunch Black Arrow didn't believe our story. Looks to me like the cards are stacked against us. Best thing to do is grab up all the gold we can and then head east.
What about all this evidence in here? We can't leave that laying around.
I'll take care of that. Meantime, you go down to Sherman's stable. Get a large packing crate and bring it up here. Close the door. We'll start packing that box.
Get over. You too, Jackson.
Well, what are you... What's the meaning of this?
It means it's the end of your road. I followed a long trail with many dangers, but at last it led to the killer of my father.
Why, you must be joking.
Were you joking when you tried to have me executed for the murder of Sherman? Were you joking when you killed Aranho and broke up the treaty with the Indians and the whites?
Well, you're crazy. That wasn't me. Everybody knows Becker did that.
Everybody doesn't know that you deliberately led Mr. Whitney, Pancho, and me into a trap.
Well, that's a lie. I was with you every minute. I couldn't have known that Becker rigged up a keg of powder inside that shack.
How did you know that Becker had the powder in a keg?
Well, now, see here, no Indian's going to trick me this way. You can't prove anything. My word's as good as any Redskin's.
This gun can speak louder than words, Jackson. You'd better tell me the truth.
Now, look, Black Arrow. Here's a proposition. You forget all about this and I'll make you rich. I've got lots of gold.
I don't want gold.
No? Well, then there's something else I'll give you.
Yes? What's that?
Takes care of him. Now we'll finish the job.
Give me your gun. It'll only take one bullet.
No, I got a better idea. Let's lock him inside that box.
What for?
There's a well out in the backyard. We'll sink him in there and nobody will ever find him. Come on, give me a hand. Put his knees down there. You can make it. Get the lid up. It's no good, Black Arrow. The game's over. You've lost. All right, put the lid down.
Have Jackson's plans finally been crowned with success? Are the citizens of Big Mesa to meet with death at the hands of the Zunis? Is there to be no end to the evil deeds of these men? You can't afford to miss Black Arrow Triumphs, the final chapter of Black Arrow, at this theater next week.